Good evening. Welcome, everybody, to Space Cowboy Books Online. This is the second installment of our Flash science fiction series. Tonight, we have three wonderful readers for you. We're going to start off with F.J. Bergmann reading The Woods and Red Gold. And then we're going to have Jonathan Nevair reading Further. And then ending the evening with Marie Vibbert with Things from Our Kitchen Junk Drawer That Could Save This Spaceship. FJ is winner of last year's Writer of the Future contest, which in this wonderful anthology. Her work
A
is
winner.
also one of the many winners. Also in the Riesling anthology this year, amongst many other accolades. I'm going to be sharing a link in the chat to where you can get one of her books. And without delay, I'm going to pass it over to F.J. Bergmann.
The Woods. One summer, after school lets out, you are finally big enough to be out under the hot sky alone, to cross street after street by yourself, heading for the woods at the edge. You heard the other kids talk about going there in lowered voices. Sometimes they came back with faded plastic things, tarnished metal trinkets, stones with holes. Now it's your turn. No one sees you duck under the low branches. Birds are a distant murmur as you wind away into the cooler shade. Eventually, the path trails off into darker, deeper undergrowth. But by then, there is no going back. A rocky hill rises to the left, then another and another. It is always just a bit further. The trees are becoming taller and keep reaching for something out of sight. Light here is blurred and glitters. Every now and again, there is an ancient human artifact, half buried in moss, an iron tricycle, a louvered ice cube tray stained purple, a pale mannequin's torso covered with loopy writing in a language you have not learned. The light is thickening like syrup as you swim deeper into green. In the middle of a humming thicket is a huge antique car, perhaps a Packard or a Studebaker, gaudy with the peacock colors of oxidation, ankle deep in short grass, starred with small flowers. With a stick, you scratch "Hi" on the curiously pristine hood. Then your initials, then walk once around the car counterclockwise. You clamber up the long humped trunk, then bounce lightly onto the roof. The empty windows gape invitingly. Once behind the wheel, sweaty and out of breath, you are at first not surprised when the radio begins to play softly out of tinny speakers. The commercial is for an unknown brand of soda, followed by a harp sonata. Later, the weather prediction will consist only of the words hurricane and fear. All the windows suddenly rise smoothly and silently out of their corroded sheaths. The car begins to move.
You going to read one more, FJ?
I can read one more. This is Red Gold. The throne is empty. A golden crown floats above it, poised to receive the head of the next king. There is a legend that when a usurper took the throne and placed the crown on his own head, it contracted suddenly to the size of a child's finger ring, with results that may be imagined. The throne is, predictably, cushioned in red velvet. The walls of the room are also red, the red of savage anger and bloodshed. All the decisions made here lead to grief for someone, somewhere. Ornamental niches in all the walls hold the kingdom's minor treasures. The skeleton of the fish inside which the last king discovered his predecessor's signet ring, complete with a finger bone. The fish was duly eaten at that banquet and was said to have been delicious. A diminutive statue of a headless, armless sea god riding a snail. An allegorical personification of responsibility in colored porcelain, its shards swept into a dismal little heap. A vampire aloft, poised to swoop down upon a hapless maiden attempting to flee on horseback. An ivory replica of the deformed fetus born to the first wife of the second to last king. A turtle mounted and stuffed, its shell encrusted with paste jewels. An ormolu hunchbacked hermaphrodite bearing the symbols of Mars and Venus in mortal combat. At the other end of the throne room, where the king will always look upon it, is a statue cast in black iron, representing the fool. A subtle reminder that risks must be undertaken with caution. The dog is shown already tumbling down the cliff. The warded doors, 3.5 times the height of a man, open suddenly, and a stumbling procession of pale, wide-eyed youths, all with the weak ankles and pointy ears that distinguish the royal bloodline, are herded in at spear point and prodded toward the throne. Each one is trying to push another ahead of him as they close in. The effect is rather like a demi-wreath of netted, writhing herring. Balconies above, courtiers are placing bets in lowered voices, giggling as one unfortunate drops to the floor and is impaled when he attempts to slither between the legs of the guards. As the spears pin the rest, thrashing wildly against the dais, a selection is made. The weakest, buffeted above the shoulders of the rest, is flung upon the empty cushions of the throne and given up for lost. As he struggles to push himself away from its carved arms, the throne arches its clamps across his wrists and ankles. Heavy gold glowing with 1,000 rubies, and the crown snaps to his skull as a lodestone to iron. Applause spatters down from above, and a phalanx of trumpets blares. The guards spin on their left heels and march out in formation. The other pretenders relax, clapping each other on the back and gossiping in overly loud voices as servants move among them with glasses of dark wine and trays of hair confit and jellied scorpions. Occasionally, someone will surreptitiously cast a glance at their new monarch, slumped and silent. If they look closely, they can see his twitching jaw and the thin red streams flowing from the corners of his eyes. The major treasures of the kingdom are, of course, intangible.
Thank you, FJ. That was FJ Bergmann with The Woods and Red Gold. And now we're going to be moving on to Jonathan Nevair, who is the author of Goodbye to the Sun, Windtide, book number 1. It is a fantastic space opera. And tonight he's going to be sharing a story with us entitled Further.
Thank you, John Paul. Further. We're leaving now. It's as good a time as any to depart. Don't fret your possessions. In fact, don't bother bringing them. That's the idea, actually, not to worry. It's how to get started. They'll have what you need when you arrive. Forget about goodbyes, too. No one will miss you because they won't notice you've left. And here's the kicker. You'll be back earlier than you departed. They're clever that way. It amuses them, and so they're generous with the return journey. It's pity, by the way. They breed it with a humorous compassion, a private joke at your expense. Be thankful. It gives you time to reset after you're back. That is, if you return. It bothers you not knowing where you're headed, doesn't it? All I can offer you is this. The destination lies deep in an infinite unknown. We're talking about crossing more than distance. You'll need to shrug off space and time. If you can't push off from the shore of your insecurities, you won't get there. You'll hesitate. The navigation will glitch. That's how you get yourself lost forever. It's not about humbled or some other response to some sublime glory before you at the gates of some macrocosmic order. Such are the myths that frame limited knowledge and keep you stationary, breeding nothing more than misperception. No threshold lies on the edge of your galaxy or local group or any other sector of the void anywhere. And by the way, there are no voids. That's your crutch. If you persist in expecting to uncover a majestic realm and some great beyond, you're not going to make it. That illusion is neither far enough nor big enough to suffice. Let that go. Let C do something, though, in sympathy, so you can take flight. Just don't become attached or dependent. Ready? Give yourself the liberty to hurtle forward at light speed, or faster if you can. Your point of departure doesn't matter. Neither does your trajectory. You'll head in the right direction. Trust me, they'll make sure of that. Go. You're moving now. Good. Keep at it. Put some duration and experience between yourself and home. Look back. See it falling away? Congratulations. You're at the beginning. Or is it the end? Don't look back again. Once is all you get. Besides, there's nothing left to see that way. You're doing well. You just might make it. You see it yet? There. But you aren't seeing, are you? We really can't refer to it as vision, can we? No. But you know that's how to relate for now, so stick to it. They'll give you new words after you arrive. This is all supposed to happen. You're expanding. There's hope for you yet. Now focus on it. It's approaching despite what your mind wants you to believe. Here's a tip. You aren't moving anymore. You never were. They're rolling everything to you. Another thing, we can't speak in terms of a when anymore, not at this point. Time is both irrelevant and offensive to them. Take note of that. You'll need it. There's no past, present, or future foundation on which to build your position anymore. Perhaps it's best to simply leave it at this. We're now further. It's up to you to step over the line. My responsibility is only to bring you to its edge. Yes, that one right in front of you. That's the way in. Or is it out? One last thing. They don't know about you or that you're coming. That's our little secret.
Thank you, Jonathan. And now we are going to have Marie Vibbert, author of Galactic Hellcats, wonderful book that came out a few months ago, and she is also up for the Rising Award this year. So you got to get yourself a copy of this book. She is going to be sharing with us things from our kitchen junk drawer that could save this spaceship. And there are links in the chat to everyone's books, should anyone be interested. Take it away, Marie.
Okay. Things from our kitchen junk drawer that could save this spaceship. 1. Tape. Here in space, there is no junk drawer. Every item is cataloged and has a place. Emergency repair kit item tape, secured on the wall near the navigation console, where the first rupture happened. I know you'd think I'd start with duct tape, but the duct tape is in the toolbox in the basement, not the kitchen junk drawer. That drawer only has yellow electrical tape. Did I drop it in there, sis, or did you? Kitchens always have this drawer that just collects the chaos of existence. 2. The rocket ship-shaped whisk that you bought when I was accepted into the space program. Not for its novelty shape, but the handle is soft and I could use it to mash into this tear in the hull. The meteorite left a hungry, whisk-sized hole that ate the tape and the hex keys and the bandages. That whisk felt so comfortable in my hand, even if it always caught on the edge of the drawer and kept it from closing. The crazy thing is, I almost brought it in my personal weight allowance, so I could bring it back to you, and you could have this whisk that had been to space. I'd sacrifice it now. I don't want to use Daniel's. 3, a chip clip for binding these air hoses so it won't break while I'm trying to pry this wall panel off. Daniel's is covering the first breach. I don't want to look at the second one yet. If I could get to the guts of the comm system, I could see why no one can hear me. We had so many chip clips. We had chip clips with logos from school, logos from work. We never bought a chip clip. But they helped with all those tubes when Dad had them, when he came home, when they let him come home. 5, the brass bottle opener shaped like a heron. That was Dad's. One of those little thefts you make when you try to drag childhood with you into adulthood. It was artistic and almost antique, like Dad. It could lever this stubborn air valve shut, save some oxygen while I'm fixing the second hole, if I could find something to fix the hole. 5, your multi-tool. You were the handy one. You were Dad's favorite. I twisted the loose drawer handle 1,000,000 times before you whipped out your Leatherman and had it secure in a second. If I had any object from that drawer, I wish I could use it to summon you, like a talisman or a phone call. I could feel the weight of it in my palm and the gentle scores of the ruler on the side, and I'd feel strong enough to figure this out and stop looking at Daniel's. Number 6, ball of twist ties. See, conductive wires with plastic sheeting. Now that I have the comms panel off, I need like a dozen more contact leads to bridge this slash across the circuits. You hated how I used to save things like that, like Dad used to, the bag of bags, the tie-on sections of twine. Now I've left all that stuff and him in your hands. If I can call for help, maybe this tank of air will be enough. I could bite the plastic ends off and make contacts if I had those twist ties. I wish I had scissors. Scissors are always useful. You would elegantly snip the corner of a packet of sauce after I ripped the plastic twice with my teeth and failed to get inside. 7, scissors. Except they're never actually in the drawer. There's a beautiful symmetry there between reality and imagination. The scissors on this ship were Daniel's. He was slightly senior of our 2-man team, like you. He kept them Velcroed down, right where the oxygen tank blew. You would have liked Daniel's. When he had a face, I mean. Number 8, a thumb drive from work. Not for the software on it, but it's thermoplastic, and I would work just as good as the whisk to fill the new hole I found. I think the scissors exited here. How many data drives are abandoned around the house, utterly useless to me right now? I tucked that one into the drawer while you were chopping celery, telling me it was my duty to stay to help with Dad. I wanted you to reach in for matches or thumbtacks and find it, this little piece of myself I left there for you to forgive. Instead, I'm patching holes because it's the thing I can fix. 9, the plastic shark, the measuring spoons and their messy fan, the stylus from that long retired tablet. All of these would be more useful than what I have, which is nothing, and problems, spawning problems, Daniel's exhaling garnet crystals from an open throat. I won't say you were right. I don't want the alternate timeline where I gave in and stayed home and wondered what could have been. Even now, I don't want it. Let Dad think he outlived me. Let him die with a daughter in space. I'm sorry I put you through so much to achieve that. I'm sorry an apology doesn't work after the fact. It's like having the right tool at the wrong time. 10, air. On Earth, even an empty drawer is full of air. The end. Happy story.
Thank you, Marie. This evening, you heard from F.J. Bergmann, Jonathan Nevair, and Marie Vibbert. There are links to all of their books in the chat. Also have a special announcement on June 18th. Space Cowboy Books presents Simultaneous Times Volume 2 Science Fiction Anthology will be out, and I'm putting the link in the chat for that. Our next event will be on June 17th. we are going to have A.C. Wise reading from Wendy Darling, wonderful new book that just came out, and there will also be followed with an interview. And our next Flash Science Fiction Night will be on July 13th, featuring Cora Bullert, Andy Dibble, and Douglas A. Blanc. Also, Jonathan Nevair, who you heard from earlier, we are going to have on July 26th, reading from Goodbye to the Sun, as well, followed by an interview. Thank you all so much for joining us at Space Cowboy Books Online. We hope to see you next time, and thank you to our readers.